ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वाम् अनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीं वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचानूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं हरि ओं शान्तिः शान्तिः Shanti Hari Om. Namaskar and welcome to Hinduism in Focus, brought to you with the compliments of Sanatan Vedic Dharma Pandit Sabha of Region 3. Today we will continue our discourse from where we left off, and we have been examining verse number 3 of chapter 7 of the Bhagavad Gita, in which Lord is asking of all of us, Sri Krishna asks of all of us to seek to achieve siddhi or divine success, divine perfection, that is the attainment of divinity. Divinity which is already latent in us, it is present in us, it's a gift of divine. It is for us to work our way towards its realization, towards a head-on realization of that siddhi, of that divinity that exists inside of us. That is the focus of Bhagavan Sri Krishna in verse number 3 of the Bhagavad Gita. And the Lord was so clear and liberal to us that He points out the pitfalls, and He also tells us that the road along this journey of realization is not an easy one. It is filled with many pitfalls and challenges, but the right attitude, the right understanding, the right adjustment, and more so, the right application are indispensable towards leading us to this siddhi or this perfection, this God realization. And so it is the knowledge of God that makes us fit for mukti, for liberation. But God knowledge is rather vague and abstruse for the ordinary. He has to therefore be put in the path that is discernible to him, proceeding from the known, what is known, the things around us, to the unknown is natural for people. This is a whole journey. All of us are born with our limitations, and we have to rise beyond this limitation. And this is only possible through this path of knowledge, which will take us to Vijnana, to realization. Thus, it has coined the whole theme of chapter 7, that is Jnana Vijnana Yoga, the yoga of knowledge and realization. So firstly, what Lord does is that He shows us a way, and He more so tells us of how all of us who are intimately connected with the physical world, the objective world around us, how these very things are actually an expansion or a projection of the divine Lord, of God Himself. That everything around us is a projection from the Spirit, that is Brahman or God. In fact, He says in verse number 4 of the Gita, and we shall continue from here, Bhumir apunaro vayu kammano buddhir evacha ahamkara iti yamme bina prakirti ashtadha. Lord says that these elements, earth, water, fire or heat, air, ether, the mind, the intellect, and the egoism, this is my prakriti divided eightfold. Now Lord is saying that all of this which exists on this physical world, our intellect, our mind, the egoism that we have, plus the elements of creation, water, earth, fire, air, and ether, that these are actually my prakriti, my nature, and it is divided into 8 elements or 8 aspects. And an element is defined in one way by modern science, and quite another way. We have to understand this, that in modern science, an element is defined in one way by modern science, and quite another way in the Indian systems of philosophy. For example, according to the Indian system of philosophy, the 5 senses of perception are the means to take cognizance or understanding of the elements. That means the air that we have, the air takes or perceives sound, which is characteristic of ether or akasha, space. So it is the sense that actually connect or able to process sound, in the case of the air, the organ of the air, and that is a characteristic of space, akasha. Another example, the skin, which is another sense, all over the body is endowed with the sense of touch, which is peculiar to air. The eyes cognize form and reveal by light or fire. The tongue experiences the taste of things dissolved in water. But the aid and agency of water, without the aid and agency of water, nothing can be tasted. So all these physical elements of creation actually are perceived, and we come to understand them through the sense organs. This is how Indian philosophy has defined element. The nose contacts smell produced by the earth, and these 5 instruments of knowledge are recognized as a revealer of the 5 elements of which the world is constituted. So God therefore has projected this world in a systematic manner, and all in all, it's a projection of the body, of the self, that is God. So the faculty of feeling is designated as the mind. The intellect is that which distinguishes the good, and the good from the bad, of course, and the agreeable from the disagreeable. That which creates a sense of agency is egoism, without which action is impossible. So the individuality of one is based on the peculiarities of these 3 organs. Now, so all of this now we can see clearly how these organs, the sense organs, the ears, the eyes, the nose, the tongue, the skin, etc., all of them are related to an element of creation, and such as water, air, fire, etc. And all of this now is controlled by feelings, by the mind. The distinction between good and bad, agreeable and disagreeable is done by the intellect, and the sense of agency is done by the egoism. And it is these 3 things too that actually keep the world moving, the universe in motion. And this, God says, Sri Krishna, that it's 8-fold of my prakriti, of my nature. So this definitely is a manifestation of God. But we cannot understand what is behind all of this as yet. So Krishna firstly points out to us that this objective world that we are living in is actually, he says, is actually his divine power, is actually him being manifested at a lower degree with less divinity being present. So Lord therefore is providing an opportunity for the ordinary people who cannot understand the spirit behind to understand that everything in the objective world is rather a manifestation or a part of God, the divine being. So the objective world is therefore a suggestion. It is a hint as to what the subjective world is beyond this physical world that we are living. And this therefore, that is why in Sanatana Dharma and in our thousands of years old tradition, belief system, every element around us has become sacred and divine. And so we have also gone into some amount of nature worship, where certain objects like the sun has been looked upon with great veneration, though not the physical sun is worshipped, but rather that spirit behind, God, who has allowed this to be projected out of his divine power, that we have received this light. So Lord went on further. He tells us now, which I have touched upon, in the other verse number 5, chapter 7, he says, Apareyam itastavyanyam prakritim vidhi me param jiva bhuta mahabhaho yayedam dharyate jagat. That these 5 elements plus the ego, the intellect and the mind, that they are my lower prakriti, my lower nature. This is what we call a secondary aspect of God. But different from it, know, O mighty arm. Now, Lord addressed Arjuna as a mighty arm. It meant that Arjuna was also somewhat highly related, or more so at this point only can connect to this physical might, which is the fact. And so with us, we can, at this moment, with only a little bit of spiritual realization, we only connect with the things around us. So he says, O mighty arm Arjuna, my higher nature, my higher prakriti, the life element by which this universe is upheld, is my higher prakriti, my higher nature. And that is where our focus should be. And we will find in the subsequent verses, the Lord will present to us and will talk to us about this higher nature of himself, which is the Atman, the supreme and divine self in all of us, that is God. Krishna will make these things crystal clear for us, so that we can aspire to these noble ideals of realization and of knowledge as such. And so I urge you to join us tomorrow discourse, so that we can examine and continue to see how Krishna developed his points, and more so these important lessons of the scriptures will become clearer for us and ultimately leads us to this divine realization. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om.